If you have a life-threatening condition, will the city get an ambulance to you in time?
CBS 2's Pam Zekman and the Better Government Association investigated and found chances are they might not. That's why paramedics say the city needs more paramedics and ambulances.
A pedestrian crossing this loop intersection is struck and pinned under a truck. Firemen arrive within 4 minutes, then ask a dispatcher, where's the ambulance?
35 from Quarters, that's the best we can do.
That's because closer ambulances were busy. 35 was 5 miles away and took 16 minutes to get there, 10 minutes longer than state guidelines. Meanwhile, Lynn Ramos was suffering from a punctured lung, broken leg, fractured pelvis, and ribs.
Just trying to breathe and pray and keep positive in hopes that they would get there soon enough.
Never should have happened, says paramedic Field Chief Patrick Fitzmaurice.
What's the message in this case that City Hall needs to know?
We don't have enough ambulances.
The city says it meets state standards by getting a fire engine with a paramedic and advanced life support equipment to the scene within 6 minutes to stabilize a patient until an ambulance arrives. But more than half a dozen paramedics told us that's just not good enough for people suffering from life-threatening conditions. This one asked not to be identified.
It may take 10 to 15 minutes for an ambulance to show up after that. And depending on what's wrong with the person, those minutes are critical.
In a trauma patient, stroke patient, and in a cardiac patient, they need to be transported.
An audit by the city's Inspector General highlights the problem. It found the city's medical response times only met national standards 58% of the time, instead of the recommended 90%.
It appears that is being done at a much lower level than what the fire department was claiming.
After celebrity chef Charlie Trotter suffered a stroke last November,
unconscious, not breathing.
ALS-equipped fire engines arrived in 3 to 4 minutes to help. It took Ambulance 11 more than 14 minutes to arrive. Trotter later died.
They probably couldn't have saved Charlie Trotter, but other people's lives will be imperiled if they don't get the right ambulances and the right trained personnel to the scene quickly enough.
And that's a daily struggle for dispatchers.
There's times where they'll literally just get on the radio and say, I have no ambulances. Are any available ambulances? Can anybody go?
The fire department says it takes calls for medical assistance very seriously and denies there is a shortage of ambulances or paramedics. But they are now tracking their runs to see if they are being used efficiently. And they plan to hire enough paramedics this year to reduce the $7 million in overtime paid last year. Mixed messages, Rob and Kate, from the fire department. They say they're going to fix the shortages that they don't really admit they have.
Well, yeah, and so they don't have a shortage of ambulances, and yet these response times are far above what the state guidelines are. How do they explain that?
They don't admit that they are above the state guidelines. They say they're meeting it by sending these fire engines with a paramedic. But what really counts to the public is how long it takes from the time you place that call to 911 and when you get an ambulance if you need to go to the hospital.
And how many more paramedics are they going to have to hire?
They say they do not want to commit. The city doesn't want to commit, but the union says they need at least 10 more ambulances, and it'll take 80 paramedics to man them 24/7.
They don't agree. All right. Thanks, Pam.